You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 177.2.3, our boys basketball postgame report with Scott Hunt, Marion 70, number 6 Warsaw 64.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Scott, huge win for the Marion Giants tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It was a game that they seemed like they had control for a while, and then they let Warsaw back in it, and then they found a way at the end to come out with the win. Definitely a big win. It's a top 10 team in 4A. Warsaw is. Unfortunately for them, we did find out tonight that they lost their starting backcourt. I don't know if it was in their last game, but it's fairly recently. They both lost both their starting guards for the season to knee injuries in the same game. So I'm not going to put an asterisk by the win for Marion, but that's tough for Warsaw. A program like that, maybe you're a little better equipped to fill in for when you're missing a couple of your best players, but and they did. They had a sophomore starting point guard that played pretty well, and Marion's pressure did get to them, especially in the fourth quarter, and that was a huge part of Marion being able to come out with that win.
Of course, winless in January, now unbeaten in February. I bet Coach Blackman would take that trade.
Well, yeah, and the winless portion, the winless January.
Yeah.
You look at this. You look at the schedule that they played.
Yeah.
My guess is there's not many teams in Class 3A that are going to win more than maybe one or two of those games. You're talking Lawrence North, Westfield, Carmel, and they're not.
I think the only disappointing thing, Scott, was the way they played in some of those games, the final scores of some of those games.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I felt like there were some of those games that they should have had a chance to be more competitive than they actually were, and but your team starts 6-1 on the season, and you go through that stretch, and these are 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, and I'm sure there was some finger pointing. Coach Blackman told me that there was definitely some angst within the locker room, but he felt like they really kind of started to figure things out in their loss at Anderson, which was the last loss they've had. The second half, I think they were down 20 maybe at halftime at Anderson, and they had a really good second half. Ended up only losing that game by 12, and I think he told me that he feels like they maybe regained some of their confidence and figured out, hey, that we actually can play with some of these teams, these big ranked teams in 4A, and they've kind of showed that the last three games. It hasn't been perfect. Don't get me wrong, it hasn't been perfect, and which is scary to think about because as well as they have played for most of especially tonight, maybe the best second quarter that I've seen them play, especially offensively. They're very efficient. Marion's, I would say, has been averaging probably close to between 20 and 30, taking 20 and 30 3-point attempts for the season in every game. And tonight they really were patient on offense. They worked to find shots, and they got the ball inside. They were 10 for 14 in the second quarter, and they were 2 for 3 from long range, and they outscored Warsaw 26-11 in the second quarter, and it went to the halftime with a 9-point lead. Case in point, third quarter they come out. Warsaw is, or they're 2 for 8 in the third quarter from 3-point range and 5 for 15 overall, and suddenly going to fourth quarter, it's a 1 point ball game again, and the fourth quarter was kind of a dogfight for a while. Warsaw got up 59-55, and Marion responded, uh, basically made huge defensive plays that really turned up the pressure, started trapping Warsaw's guards and every opportunity, and they did not let the trap slip. They forced 7 turnovers in the fourth quarter, 5 in the last basically 3 minutes, or a little over 3 minutes, and outscored Warsaw 13-4 down the last 3:10 to come out with a 7 point win.
And if that 7 game losing streak doesn't beat you down, it makes you better. And it sure looks like they're getting better. And a lot of good depth tonight, it looked like, for Marion.
Yeah, and I really think that losing streak did both. It both beat them down, and I think it has made them better. It's made them a tougher team. It's made them a little bit more resilient. I think they're feeling again like they can, come back on. They can come on the floor any night and have a chance to compete and a chance to win. Uh, Definitely, and they played 8 kids tonight, and all 8 did something to help pull out this victory. Tim Jones was huge. Didn't have a great shooting night. He actually missed a lot of shots around the bucket, but he still finished with 16 points. I had him for 5 steals and 5 assists. Amar Rogers Sr. Had 8 of his 16 in the fourth quarter, and he had 3 or 4 steals and an assist in the fourth quarter. He ended up with 5 steals and 3 assists for the game. Logan Barnes had 9 points in the first half and then finished with 12. Got a great offensive boost from the brothers Jackson in the
Yeah.
second quarter. Tusi came off the bench and scored 6 points. Tusi's a senior and has really played well with kind of limited minutes. He was hurt for a little while. He's really playing like a senior and giving them important minutes when he gets in the game. And then younger brother, freshman Manu, came off and hit all 3 of his shots, including the 3 in the second quarter. So they combined for 13 points between them. And uh, Jace Freshwater, who's been in the starting lineup, J.J. Smith, who was starting at point guard, had a little disciplinary action a couple weeks ago. Had to set out a couple games, and junior Jace Freshwater stepped into the starting lineup. They're both still getting pretty good minutes, but Fresh only had 3 points tonight, but it was the biggest 3-pointer, biggest shot probably of his career. The game was tied with 61. He knocked down a 3 with 1:38 to go. That gave Marion the lead for good at 64-61. So big shot from him, and he was solid defensively. Jace is for no, he's not a very big kid, height wise, or he's pretty slender, but man, he finds a way to go find a couple big rebounds every game, and he did that again tonight. And then Kobe Johnson's been, stat wise, he doesn't always show up a lot in the stat sheet, but his defense is it's the same every night. He's kind of a lockdown defender. He can play in the post, or he can run at the top of the trap when Marion's in his zone. He can play out there, and he's got length, and he was good defensively tonight. Had 6 points and 3 boards, and then J.J. Smith, who I mentioned a couple minutes ago, he had a couple big steals and assists in the fourth quarter and ended up with 4 points as well. So definitely all around great team win for the Giants, and no rest for the weary, man. They got a really good Mount Vernon team coming in Friday night, and they're going to be tested again.
They are. I wouldn't say that it's an easy schedule down the stretch for them, but a schedule that they have to like their chances in every single game, and you got to like that as a coach. And you really got to like having 6 of your final 8 games at home.
Yeah, yeah. They've earned that. They've earned. Yeah, there's no breathers on the schedule for sure. You know, you're still talking the likes of Fort Wayne
Yeah,
Northrop,
yep.
Fort Wayne Snyder,
Good
Indianapolis
teams.
Washington comes to
Absolutely.
town. So there's no breathers, but yeah, definitely it's not. You're not looking staring at a gauntlet of top 10 ranked 4A teams to finish the regular season out. So hopefully, you know, they can play well and build some confidence. And you know, you know, during the rough stretch that they had, they lost 6 in a row and or 7 in a row, whatever it was. And you know, I kept telling people, I was like, look, they might not win another. There's a chance that they could not win another game in the regular season, and they would still be the favorite going into their sectional. I still wholeheartedly believe that. I know Norwell's got a good basketball team. Mississinewa has grown, and they're playing well in spurts at times this season. And with that rivalry, the Marion Mississinewa rivalry, you know, you better be ready to play, or you know, just about anything can happen. But and I've heard, you know, New Haven's a pretty good and athletic team, so they're not going to walk through that sectional, but
You got to like their chances, that's for sure.
the teams are going to have to they're going to have to be ready to see, you know, see some. They're going to have to play well to beat the Marion Giants. That's for sure.
No doubt about it. And that's exactly why you schedule those games and have a tough schedule like that. Whoever designed this schedule did a really good job, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it's a combination of, and some of those games, you know, like the Lawrence North, they've been a part of Marion's schedules back, you know, from when I was in high school. I think Marion and Lawrence North have played. They haven't played every year, but there was, and it was like a recent 2 year break where and it was something to do. It was Lawrence North was in maybe the Hall of Fame Classic or something where they had to give up a game or another game so they could fit that part into their schedule. But yeah, that's always, you know, that's a good measuring stick game for where Marion's at. Obviously, Lawrence North is has become one of the premier programs in all of Indiana, just about year in and year out. And, you know, that's a team that's going to have a chance to go get some nets out of Gamebridge Fieldhouse at the end of March. But you know, Westfield's another team that has a really good cycle of players there right now, and different construct. You know, that's the thing with the schedule that Marion plays. They're playing some powerhouse teams, but they're contrasting styles. You know, Lawrence North wants to get up and go and pressure and run, and Westfield's content with the half court game. You know, so kind of same with a Homestead. Marion had an opportunity to beat Homestead during that stretch, and just kind of let it get away from them the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. Just yeah, this schedule will have them ready for tournament time. And you know, should they get out of the sectional, who knows? You know what? I know there's some really good 3A teams in the north. My guess is Blackhawk Christian would be probably you know, one of the teams that they could be paired up with in the regional. Obviously, South Bend St. Joe was a state runner-up last year and returned almost everybody off of that team. So you know, there's a potential deep run for Marion in the tournament, but there's also landmines all along the route. So I don't know if they can just
It'll
take
be
care of business
interesting, that's for sure.
one business take care of their business one day at a time. You know, we'll see what happens.
All right, Scott, you said you hadn't heard any of the scores tonight, so I'll go through them real fast if you want. And if you have any thoughts, give them to me, all right?
All right.
Pendleton Heights 53, Mississinewa 48, as you know. That's the one you haven't had heard. Interesting
Yeah,
finish there.
yeah. That's you know, I think Mississinewa has I haven't seen them play in in a couple weeks now, or 2 or 3 weeks even. I think they've kind of figured out who they are, and now they're trying to figure out how to win close games at the end. I really thought they might have had a chance to win this game tonight, but Pendleton Heights is a program that's always going to be competitive, and it's a tough loss for Ole Miss for sure.
Franklin beat Wabash 58-44. Franklin's won 6 games in a row. Alexandria 60, Burris 41. Elwood beat Southern Wells 46-40. Second straight win for the Panthers, 2 nights in a row. It was a really good game at Shenandoah. Madison-Grant lost 61-53. Really good, another really good game, back-to-back nights for Brock Barnhart.
Yeah, I miss this. Madison Grant's another team that I think it's and I saw them play at Oak Hill just a couple weeks ago, and they are really playing better. I think it's taken them some time as well to figure out how they have to play, especially offensively, to make themselves competitive. They really don't have any standout offensive players. Brock Barnhart, I've seen him get hot and hit some shots and have good games. I've seen Luke Gilman have good games here and there. I really feel like Madison Grant may be at their best when they can really keep Ike Almeida involved in the post. But they're good enough defensively that they're going to keep themselves in a ton of games, and
And they're
uh,
athletic enough to hang with a lot of teams.
absolutely. And that was one of the it was interesting talking to Coach Hendrickson last time. He feels like he those kids at Madison Grant, you're around them every day, and you see every one of those kids is multi-sport athletes. So when it's basketball season, then it's basketball season. I don't know how much off-season time any of those Madison Grant kids are able to devote to the game of basketball. They most of those kids were on the football team. Luke Gilman was obviously a stud tennis player and
Yeah,
had extended
it's
seasons both ways. So when you get out football, it takes a while to shake football off when you get into basketball season, and I think that might have been part of Madison Grant's offensive struggles early in the season.
it's definitely a thing for sure. But there are 2 or 3 kids on the team that you see in the gym every morning, and but you're right. For most of the kids on the team, it's a second sport, and when that's the case, it's usually not going to be a lot of 18-win seasons, and but that's okay. Like we said, they're talented enough. They're athletic enough. They're smart enough. They play hard enough to be able to compete with most teams most nights.
Yeah, and Coach Hendrickson does a nice job of getting them in the positions they need to be in to have success.
2A number 11 Lapel won its 8th straight game, 59-43 at 2A number 13 Taylor, fourth straight loss for Taylor. Again, a losing streak that most teams would not be ashamed to have.
Yeah, I watched the the replay of the Taylor game online against Eastbrook. They're a dangerous team come tournament time, and
Yes, they are. They got a trio that if those guys play well, they are almost impossible to stop. But Lapel is also very good. And as I've been saying for about 2 weeks, they're probably the favorite in that sectional.
yeah, they're I think the Madison or Oak Hill went down and played Lapel the night after I saw them last, and you know, Coach Renbarger is Oak Hill doesn't mess around scheduling either. They like to go be challenged wherever they can, and that Lapel Oak Hill is it's kind of a nice little rivalry.
Yeah,
But yeah, he was spoke very highly of the Judge brothers that Lapel has, and knew that they would have a hard time down there if they didn't play their best.
I just got a text from Coach Cherry, and he told me to say hello to you. So,
Hello, Coach Cherry.
4A number 11 Noblesville beat 4A number 3 Anderson, 66-59, ending Anderson's 12-game winning streak. 10 in a row
Well,
for Noblesville, by the way.
anytime, I grew up in the NCC, and I know the competitiveness of that conference, but it's a different NCC than it's ever been in my lifetime right now. And I know Anderson's a good basketball team, but when you're talking about teams in the HCC, man, I think
Yes, sir.
arguably that may be top to bottom the best conference in Indiana since Carmel and Center Grove were voted out of the MIC, and
Yeah, that's
those
right.
HCC teams. They got to be ready and have their A game every night. And
That's a
that is
good Noblesville team, that's for sure.
yeah, it doesn't that's not that surprising of a score to me.
3A number 2 Cathedral beat Liberty Christian 88-62. Liberty Christian's doing that schedule thing too. Man, they're going to be ready when the Class A tournament starts, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I've heard early on that they're definitely going to be could be a contender for the 1A state championship. I think that's who Madison-Grant had
Yeah.
their preseason their scrimmage with, and Coach Hendrickson spoke highly of those guys.
Yep. For the next 3 years, by the way, they're going to be contenders.
Yeah, they're that young, huh?
Anderson Prep won its 13th game of the season. Their previous record was 6 in a season. They beat Knightstown 71-52, and they've won 3 in a row. 2A number 2 Wapahani is 17-1 after beating Eastern Hancock 49-43. Wapahani's now 5-0 in the Mid-Eastern Conference. It was ends a 3-game losing streak for Eastern Hancock, who's playing really well. They're 5-2 in the conference. And Cowan beat Union City 79-56. Greenfield Central 64, Franklin Central 50 or 60. Closer game than I would have expected. Greenfield Central's 18-2. That's a good team. 3A number 4 New Pal beat number 3 Garin Catholic 66-51. By the way, Julius Jeezy, if you haven't seen him play, woo, that
I
guy
saw
is
him.
good.
I saw him play. I think I usually every year buy the semi-state package from IHSA TV, and I watched New Pal, some of New Pal last year. It was either regional or semi-state, and yeah, that's it's quite a family of basketball studs. I think
Yes,
the the older brother is at Huntington now,
right.
and is using his COVID year at Huntington University. I think the sister is at St. Francis, a very good St. Francis team that just handed Indiana Wesleyan's women their first
That's
loss
right.
at Indiana Wesleyan last Saturday. Uh, Asterisk there because Indiana Wesleyan's been without their All-American point guard Lily Frazier for the
Right.
last 2.5 weeks with an injury. Hopefully they'll get her back soon before get her back in time to get her back in shape for the tournament. But yeah, that Gizzy family's quite a hoop family.
Mount Vernon is 13-4 after coming from behind to beat Pike 66-58 in overtime. Big win for the Marauders. Man, that conference is good, isn't it?
Yeah, that especially the top half of that conference.
Especially the top half.
You're talking
Um,
about New Pal and Greenfield and
Mount
Mount
Vernon,
Vernon
Delta.
and Delta.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really good three. Probably the best conference in 3A for sure.
that's right. Hamilton Southeastern won its 11th game, 66-50 over Indianapolis Metropolitan. McConaughey beat Carroll 77-68. Both teams are now 13-4. And as I like to say, Joe Luce's Tippecanoe Valley Vikings are 13-4 after beating North Miami 49-44. Do you know Joe Luce?
I I know who Joe Luce is. When when he was here in Marion, I was working a second shift job in Wabash, and
Oh,
didn't get to be around that team a whole lot or watch them a whole lot. But he's a pretty good basketball coach.
yes,
He's
he is.
had pretty good success wherever he's been. So
Really nice
not
guy,
surprised.
too. Really good guy with the media.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, always liked him. Liked his son is an all-time Purdue basketball legend, of course. So
Tommy.
that's right.
I believe Tommy's on staff at Akron now,
Wow.
or Kent State. At Kent State.
I never them and Bowling Green, those three I always get mixed up. So all right. Thank you, Scott, so much for your time. I appreciate it. And we'll talk
Yeah.
soon.
The score I didn't hear you say was Oak Hill beating Western tonight,
Oh,
64 to 51. That was kind of the one one of the
yeah.
most I was most interested in.
Yeah, I skipped right past it. Sorry about that.
That's another good win for Oak Hill. They got that's it was interesting. I talked to assistant coach Michael Law at the girls sectional championship game Saturday night over at Lewis Cass, and that's win number 297 for Coach Renbarger at Oak Hill. So they got 3 games on the road Friday night, starting at Blackford, and then at Logansport. And then they go to Tipton on Tuesday.
Right.
It's, it's going to be it was the interesting part of that was Coach Law tells me that he doesn't even think Coach Renberger is aware that he's that close to 300 because he doesn't care. He's so focused on getting those kids ready every night. And obviously, the game at Blackford Friday night will be their biggest, the biggest one of the season for Oak Hill. If they can go over there and get a win, that will clinch the outright CIC for them. Uh, with only a game against Elwood remaining.
Thanks so much to Scott Hunt for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. Once again, we value our friendship with Scott Hunt, and he brings a lot of great coverage from Grant County sports. Later Wednesday, we will have a report on Elwood Southern Wells from me. I was at the game on Tuesday night. Elwood's 46-40 win over Southern Wells. We'll also have a full report on Pendleton Heights' crazy 53-48 win over Mississinewa with Grant Schaus of the Action Sports Network, all coming up on Wednesday, late morning to early afternoon. We will also have a full boys basketball report. Talked with Lapel head coach Kevin Cherry after the Bulldogs' big win over Taylor. Spoke with Anderson Prep assistant coach Mike King about the Jets' 13th win of the season, beating Knightstown. And I spoke with Alexandria head coach Marty Carroll after the Tigers' win over Muncie Burris. So a lot to look forward to with boys basketball on Wednesday. Also, earlier Wednesday, we had our girls basketball statewide regional preview, a look at all 32 regionals in all 4 classes. Lots of basketball, wrestling, all kinds of stuff coming up in the next few days. Please check in with us. Again, like, subscribe, or follow. That's the best way to keep up. And probably the best thing you can do to help us is tell a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you once again for listening. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.